T's and C's, visit nectar.com/escape.
On LBC.
Invoices sorted and tracked. Business burst.
In the 1980s, two 15-year-old girls, Linda Mann and Dawn Ashworth, were raped and murdered by a man who was later identified, thanks to DNA evidence, the first time this had happened in a murder case, identified as Colin Pitchfork. All of that was in the 1980s, and today, those families, the families of Linda Mann and Dawn Ashworth, are having to deal with the news that Colin Pitchfork has been released from prison, which has got us thinking about how common this is. Thankfully, something as appalling as this is rare, but of course crimes happen every day, and victims of crime often have to deal with the perpetrator walking free at some point. What's that like for you? 0345 60 60 973. Here's Mary. Welcome, Mary. What happened to you?
I had a business down south back in the 80s, and I lived over the shop, and disturbed a burglar who then attacked me. He was caught on the premises and was done for attempted murder. I never even knew that he was going to court. It was one of the customers told me he'd been in court. The police actually were really pleased to have called him because they'd been after him for a while. And next thing I heard is that there was 3 guardsmen with the legal profession, and he pled guilty to actual bodily harm and got 3 months youth custody. He was out in 18 months. I didn't know that he was getting out.
Sorry, 3 years in youth custody, then he got out in 18 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
And next thing is, I saw him walking past the shop. He lived quite near.
What was that like?
Oh, couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. It shocked me to the core. And I rang up the police because this was happening on a daily basis, that he was actually standing looking in the shop window, and it really intimidated me. And they said there was nothing they could do about it unless he actually entered the premises. As you can imagine, I was got to the point that I was looking out for him every time. And after some time, I had to admit to my family, who were still at home, what had happened. And one of the
That's the headlines. People with severely weakened immune systems are to be offered a third dose of a coronavirus vaccine. Government advisors have made the recommendation ahead of a decision on whether a full booster programme will go ahead. Dominic Raab's told MPs that he did not consider resigning over the UK's handling of the crisis in Afghanistan. The Foreign Secretary says intelligence assessments suggested the country was unlikely to fall to the Taliban this year. A man who killed 2 teenage girls in the 1980s has been released from jail. The Ministry of Justice says Colin Pitchfork will face some of the strictest licence conditions ever set.
LBC Business Update.
With Direct Line Landlord Insurance. Come direct for landlord insurance.
Wetherspoons has apologised to customers for shortages of beer in its pubs. The chain's seen deliveries of Carling and Coors hit by the disruption. Lorry driver and factory staff shortages linked to Brexit and the pandemic are impacting a growing number of firms. The weather tonight mostly cloudy with some light showers. Clearer spells developing in the north and west. A low of 9 degrees.
This is LBC. At Vodafone, our mission is connecting people, but the digital divide is growing in the UK. 44% of those offline are children, and this leads to inequality in education and employment opportunities. Together, Vodafone and LBC are working to put an end to digital exclusion, but we need your help. If you can donate phones, tablets, or laptops that you no
surprised that figures are going up, and indeed I think we would all be predicting that figures are going to go up over the next weeks or months, because schools are going back. And we've seen that from the data from Scotland, which obviously schools went back a little bit earlier, and we've seen a very clear rise in numbers of cases, and that will then feed through to a rise in number of hospitalizations, even though vaccines have really helped to reduce the risk of hospitalization and ventilation use and so on. So I think we are going to see that. That's part of the natural sort of path of these waves that we will see after the pandemic eases. What we are all hoping, I suppose, is that this is not going to be a very big wave, because we've got a large amount of immunity within the population now.
Thanks so much. Dr. Claire Steeves, reader at King's College London and leader of the research team on the Zoe app. 6:46, we'll carry on the conversation about victims of crime after the headlines from Tom Swartz.
People with severely weakened immune systems are to be offered a coronavirus booster jab. Scotland is set to introduce vaccine passports for nightclubs and some large events later this month. The Foreign Secretary has admitted the UK was caught out by the speed of the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban. The weather mostly cloudy with some light showers tonight, a low of 9 Celsius.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave. Golf is slow on the M25 clockwise. One lane is closed because a car has broken down at junction 25 for Enfield. It's slow in Leighton. The high road stays closed in both directions. That's because of an ongoing police investigation between Adelaide Road and St Mary's Road. There are queues embarking on the A13 heading out of town after a car broke down earlier on at Movers Lane. It's slow heading into the city on East Smithfield westbound. It's partly blocked just before Tower Hill. That's because a car has broken down. And on the underground, there's no service on the district line between Town and Richmond because of a signalling problem. London Overground also have no service between Richmond and South Acton.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale. On the news hour, Dominic Raab appears before the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, and I talk to the authors of a new book about the split between Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon. Ian Dale on LBC.
This might sound like a rowing machine, but it's actually the sound of Wendy feeling about 10 years younger. So it's more of a time machine, really.
Whatever your reason for making a positive change in life, Vitality Health and Life Insurance motivates you with everything from half-price trainers to up to 2 months cashback on your premiums when you're active. Vitality, sharing the benefits of healthy living. Just search Vitality. Offer ends 30th September 2021. Conditions and minimum premiums apply. Cashback based on activity.
Call and email 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
In a world ruled by speed, where destinies are decided by downloads, a hero has arrived. I meant no Sky Broadband Ultra Fast. It's 10 times faster than standard fiber, making everything you do online feel epic. The next generation of broadband is here. No Sky Broadband Ultra Fast.
Already available 15.7% of UK homes, and we're adding more every day. In comparison of average download speed of Ultra Fast Plus versus standard fiber speeds measured through to csky.com.
Looking for a business SIM that's 4 times cheaper than some of the other big networks? With Free's boundless business offer, get 10 unlimited call and data SIMs for just £5 each. That's the whole team sorted. Switch to 3 and become boundless today. Search 3 Business or visit us in store.
24-month plan excludes 20% VAT. Price comparison based on equivalent plans on Vodafone and EE websites on 4th August 2021. Terms apply. See 3.co.uk/terms/business.
Hello, mate.
All right.
How's Uber driving treating you?
Not as well as you by the looks of it. Nice jacket.
Yeah, well, I've saved a bit on my insurance. I'm with Zego now.
Zego.
Z-E-G-O. Perfect for a line of work. They do annual, monthly, even weekly policies, so they're really flexible.
And are they on Uber's new list of pre-approved providers?
Yeah, and if you drive well, with Zego, you could save even more money. So, that won't affect you then.
Oi!
Zego. Switch today and see how much you could save. According to data from iWonder, between the 8th of June and the 7th of July, we offered the cheapest private hire premiums in nearly 1 in 2 2 cases. For full details, visit seago.com/radio.
Turn everyday business purchases into the trip of a lifetime with the British Airways American Express Accelerating Business Card. You'll earn 1.5 Avios for every £1 you spend, and for a limited time, you'll receive 60,000 Avios when you spend £5,000 in the first 3 months of card membership. Apply today and check out the world.
Representative 96.7% APR variable, 18 plus, UK residents only, subject to approval. Offer may be withdrawn or modified at any time after 2nd November 2021. Terms apply.
If you're a freeholder or a right to manage company director, you'll know your sector never stops. So it's good to know that when your block is looked after by ABC Estates Block Management Team, our family business will never stop looking after you. Service charge collections, we never stop. Insurance, we never stop. Proactive and reactive maintenance, we never stop. Full transparency, we never stop. Non-stop block management services from Aldermartin, Baines and Cuthbert. Call 0800 888 6688 or visit abcestates.co.uk.
Eddie Mayer on LBC.
With Sage, pay your people accurately, quickly and on time.
After the release of Colin Pitchfork, to the dismay of some of the relatives of his young victims, we're hearing tonight from victims of crime and how they feel and what happens when the perpetrator is released. Let's hear from Ryan. Again, not your real name, but Ryan, you're very welcome. What do you want to tell me?